In this episode, we're moving into a broader and very familiar area of experience. We're looking at why certain everyday situations trigger anxiety or emotional activation more strongly than others, even when there's no obvious danger or problem. Anxiety is often misunderstood as a response to threat. In daily life, it's more accurate to think of it as a response to uncertainty, unpredictability, or loss of control. The body reacts not only to what is happening, but to how prepared it feels to meet what's happening. This is why two people can be in the same situation and have very different reactions. For one person, waiting for a reply feels natural. For another, it creates a surge of unease. For one person, being late is mildly inconvenient. For another, it produces a strong physical response. The situation's the same, the internal meaning is very different. One factor that shapes this is predictability. Situations that are familiar and structured tend to produce less activation. Situations that are vague, open ended, or dependent on another person's responses tend to increase it. The nervous system prefers clear parameters. Another factor is perceived responsibility. Anxiety often increases when people feel personally responsible for outcomes they can't fully control. For example, giving a presentation feels different from attending one. Waiting for feedback feels very different from giving feedback. Responsibility increases emotional load. This is why social situations are a common trigger. They involve uncertainty, interpretation, and evaluation, often all at the same time. Even when nothing goes wrong, the system stays alert because it's monitoring multiple signals. Biology plays a role too. Some nervous systems are more sensitive to change or stimulation. This sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's a trait. Highly responsive systems notice more, process more, and react more quickly. That responsiveness can be an asset, but it can also mean certain situations feel more intense. Learning and experience matter as well. If past situations taught the system that uncertainty leads to difficulty, anxiety becomes a protective response. It's the body's preparing in advance rather than reacting afterward. You can see this in a very ordinary context. Someone feels tense before a meeting because previous meetings were unpredictable. Someone becomes anxious when plans change because change once led to disappointment. The reaction makes sense in light of experience. Anxiety is also influenced by how much internal pressure someone is already carrying. Earlier in the series, we explored how responsibility and expectation accumulate. When baseline pressure is high, the threshold for activation lowers. Some uncertainties feel larger. Another important element is interpretation. The same physical sensation can be read in different ways. A racing heart might be interpreted as excitement in one context and anxiety in another. The body signal is similar, the meaning assigned to it changes the experience. This is why anxiety can feel inconsistent. It appears in some situations and not others. It rises quickly and settles very slowly. It doesn't always respond to logic because it's responding to perceived safety rather than rational assessment. What often helps isn't trying to eliminate anxiety, but understanding its pattern. When people recognize what reliably triggers activation, reactions become less surprising. Surprise amplifies anxiety, familiarity reduces it. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. Surprise amplifies anxiety, familiarity reduces it. Over time, people often notice that anxiety loses some of its intensity once it's understood as a response rather than a warning. The body is doing something sensible, even if it's not strictly necessary in that moment. This understanding doesn't remove anxiety entirely, it changes the relationship with it. Instead of reacting to anxiety itself, people respond to the situation more directly. As emotional confidence develops, anxiety becomes easier to tolerate. It still shows up, but it doesn't dominate behavior in the same way. People feel more able to stay present even while activated. This is where broader understanding becomes useful. Anxiety isn't a single thing, it's shaped by biology, learning, context, and current load. Seeing that complexity reduces self judgment and increases flexibility. Join me in the next episode where we'll look more closely at how anxiety shows up in the body, why physical sensations are often the most distressing part, and how understanding the body's role changes how anxiety is experienced.